Hi, science lovers. Welcome to another episode of the Spectacular Space and Science podcast. I am very excited to announce that we have a special guest here with us today. As most of you know, on Earth, certain organisms exist that we call extremophiles. Extremophiles are organisms that are able to live and thrive in extreme environments that may be considered lethal to us humans. One extremophile in particular has been incredibly courteous and decided to join us for an interview on the podcast today. Everybody welcome Paul the Pompey worm.
Hello everyone.
Welcome, Paul. I'm going to ask you a few questions about the Pompey worm, or the formal name, the Alvinella Pompejana species, and your life here on Earth. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, everyone. Paul has just signaled to me that he is ready to go. To start off, what is the Alvinella Pompejana?
Well, generally we are worms. However, in a broader sense, we are part of a diverse group of worms called polychaetous annelids. Polychaetes consist of a large range of about 10,000 different species of segmented worms that exist in oceanic regions. We all take different forms, but in our case specifically, we are approximately 15 centimeters long. Also, all alvinellids possess 4 pairs of gills located anteriorly. The alvinella differs from Paralvinella, a similar species, in having lamellae inserted on the stem of each gill instead of filaments.
Wow, I never knew Alvinella is only one of the thousands of polychaete species. My second question has to do with what I mentioned earlier, which is that Alvinella are considered extremophiles. So, in what ways is your species, the Alvinella pompejana, considered extreme?
Great question, Sonia. For starters, what makes our species extreme is our ability to live under extreme environments and temperatures. We live in hydrothermal vents in the East Pacific Rise. These vents are approximately 5,000 to 11,500 feet below the ocean surface, and we tend to settle along the uppermost part of these vents, referred to as chimneys. Within these chimneys, we form tubes, allowing us to enter and exit the chimneys whenever we need. These chimneys tend to be extremely hot, at around 105 degrees Celsius, a temperature lethal to humans and most species on Earth, making us hypothermophiles.
That is impressive. I cannot imagine living in such an intensely hot environment, which brings me to my next question. Does the Alvinella pompejana require these extreme conditions for survival, or do you all simply prefer these conditions?
Well, as hypothermophiles, because we have adapted to the conditions found in our oceanic habitats, such as higher temperatures, we prefer these conditions. Our preference is evident because our bodies can now withstand temperatures up to about 55 degrees Celsius, making us one of the utmost thermotolerant metazoans. As of now, humans have not explored the possibility of our species thriving in normal conditions. However, because our thermal threshold extends from above 20 degrees Celsius to beyond 40 degrees Celsius, it is possible that we could still thrive in warmer conditions that exist below the ocean surface.
I see. It is interesting how your body adapted to a temperature of 55 degrees, which we humans could never withstand. That brings me to my next question, though. You mentioned that the vents are at 105 degrees Celsius. However, your bodies only have a thermal threshold of above 20 degrees Celsius to beyond 40 degrees Celsius. So, how are you able to survive in such extreme temperatures?
Our ability to survive in such extreme temperatures is thanks to biology. As Alvinella, we carry certain bacteria on our backs. This bacteria is called epibiotic bacteria, which serves 2 important functions. First, the epibiotic bacteria blanketing our backs allow us to survive in such extreme temperatures because they act as a form of insulation, allowing our bodies to remain at temperatures within our threshold. Second, epibiotic bacteria acts as our personal assistants by aiding us in breaking up minerals found in our habitats. Third, and in my opinion the most important, is that epibiotic bacteria are a food source for us Alvinella. We tend to stay close to the vents that are heavy in sulfur to encourage chemosynthetic bacteria to grow on our backs. We use our own bodies like farms to grow bacteria, and we later consume these bacteria as a form of food and energy, which facilitates our survival in these deep sea vents. Besides biology, though, because we are moving in and out of these tubes, we travel between the oxygen-filled cold water and the nutrient-filled hot water, which allows us to maintain temperatures within our body's thermal thresholds.
Wow, epibiotic bacteria is micro yet incredibly multifaceted and can work in multiple ways to drive life forward. What I find most interesting about your species and overall extremophiles is that they may have implications for life beyond Earth. Have you heard about this?
Oh, absolutely. My worm friends and I always talk about it because it is fascinating how our species may exist on other planets in our solar system. We believe that we can exist on other planets because on Earth, since we live in deep sea vents far underneath the ocean's surface, no sunlight reaches our habitat. So while humans indirectly obtain energy from sun through photosynthesis, we obtain our energy from chemosynthesis. Through the process of chemosynthesis, bacteria provides energy and nutrients to vent species without the need for sunlight. When humans discovered that we exist in these extreme conditions, such as being able to thrive with no sunlight, this introduced the possibility that we and other hyperthermophiles could live on other planets. For instance, since Jupiter has no sunlight, it is still possible for extremophiles like myself to exist deep below the surface of Europa's ocean, as long as chemosynthesis can still occur.
Wow, imagine that. Pompeii worms possibly taking over space. Speaking of Pompeii, how on earth did your name come about?
I was anticipating this question. Pompeii was actually the name of a city in Rome. It suffered a massive impact due to volcanic eruption in Mount Vesuvius, which caused a shower of ash to pour down on the ruined land. However, unlike the unlucky fate of Pompeii, as described before, we, as Alvinella, are able to survive in these extreme conditions.
How devastating yet interesting. Pompeii worms have a fascinating fate. Well, that is all we have time for today, folks. Thank you for joining us, Paul, and thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you for having me, Sonia, and bye everyone.